Hello everyone, welcome to Gateway to Civil Services. This is our second video for the series of polity lectures of chapter 1 Lakshmikant, that is historical background. So previously we have discussed the two acts, that is Regulating Act 1773 and the Amending Act of 1781. Now we will discuss the further acts, and today we'll start with Pitt's India Act of 1784. So we'll discuss the features of it. Very important act because in UPSC, in state PCS, questions are directly asked from this section, from this act. This act is very important. So the first feature is, the first time the functions of the company was distinguished. What functions? The commercial functions and the political functions. Previously, no such difference was set, but with the coming of the Pitt's India Act, the company witnessed a distinguished in its features between the commercial features and the political features, the commercial functions and the political functions. Okay, so that we have to understand. Previously, what was going on? One body was there, that is the court of directors, and that particular body was responsible for all the functions, whether it is commercial function, whether it is political functions. But the Pitt's India Act have created a new body called the board of directors. Right now, the previous body, that was the court of directors, is now will look after all the functions of commercial functions of the company. But the new body that was created, that is the board of control, will look after this political functions. So here we can see the functions have been distinguished. Okay, and in this way a double government, a system of double government have been set up. ठीक है, तो कभी कभी you'll face a question regarding double government also. What is double government? Or you must be knowing that double government is a system of government where the functions of the company have been distinguished between the two, that is the commercial functions and the political functions. Commercial functions was looked after by the court of directors, and the political functions being looked after by this board of directors, that was the newly created body. Okay, then the next important point is key board of control got the immense power regarding civil and military government or revenues. The important functions was seen by the board of control, the newly created body, and the previous body, that is the court of directors, it was confined to the commercial functions only. Okay, it has no role to play regarding the important strategic roles, that is like military, civil and revenue. So we can see that the newly created body, that is the board of control, was given more power. Okay, the act was significant for the two reasons. The first one is for the very first time the company's territories in India were called British possessions in India. Okay, and the second thing is British government were given the supreme control over the East India Company and its administration in India. So before that, what happened in 1773, British government only regulated East India Company and administration in India. But now with the coming up of Pitt's India Act, the British government have taken the supreme control over that. So that is the difference. Now we'll come to our next act, that is the Act of 1786. So what happened in this act? That Lord Cornwallis was given the position of Governor General of Bengal. But Lord Cornwallis said that I will accept this position only when my two demands are fulfilled. Okay. The first demand was he demanded in special cases, if there is any contradiction in opinion between the council and the Governor General of Bengal, that is Cornwallis at that time, so he demanded in such situations he must have the power to override the decision of his council. Okay. And second thing he demanded, he said that the commander in chief ठीक है, मतलब कि गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ बंगाल should also be the commander in chief. That is, at that time, Lord Cornwallis was the Governor General of Bengal. So this act, with this act of 1786, these two demands were fulfilled, and they have provided these two demands to the this Lord Cornwallis. Okay, but this act of 1876, not for the future Governor General of Bengal, only to the Lord Cornwallis this power has been given. Okay. Now with the Charter Act of 1793, we can discuss the features. ये थोड़ा सा extended ही है, 1786 के कुछ parts इसमें extended मिलेंगे. Like सबसे पहला we discuss the first point, that it extended the overriding powers given to Lord Cornwallis over his council to all future governor generals and governors of presidencies. That was I was talking previously कि 1786 से क्या हुआ कि that overriding power was given only to the Lord Cornwallis, but this particular power has been extended to all the future governors of the governor generals of the Bengal and the governors of presidencies with the coming up of the Charter Act of 1793. Okay. Then the second important point is it gave the governor general more powers and control over the governments of the subordinate presidencies of Bombay and Madras. Okay. So previously you have known that they became subordinate, matlab to the governor general of this Bengal. Okay, with the coming of regulating in 1773, these presidencies made subordinate to them. But with the Charter Act of 1793, this Governor General of Bengal was given more power regarding these subordinate presidencies. पहले भी हुआ था, subordinate हुआ था, but at that time their power was not that much extended. But with this Charter Act of 1793, that power has been extended. Okay, more power have been given to the Governor General of Bengal with regard to subordinate presidencies of Bombay and Madras. Okay. Then we come to the next point. It extended a trade monopoly of the company in India to for another period of 20 years. Okay, so 20 साल का extended they have got with this act, with this charter. Then it provided that a commander-in-chief was not to be a member of the Governor General's Council unless he was so appointed. Means कि ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई भी commander-in-chief बना then automatically he becomes the member of the General Council. ठीक है, तो ये by default वाला कोई process इसमें नहीं था. ठीक है, अगर बनाना है then उसको separately बनाना होगा. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो जहाँ कोई person commander-in-chief बना then automatically he become the member of that Governor General's Council. ठीक है. The next important point is it laid down that the members of the Board of Control and their staff were henceforth to be paid out of the Indian revenues. पहले क्या था, पहले Indian revenues से उसको payment नहीं होता था. ठीक है, some other sources were provided for that. But now with the coming up of the Pitt's India Act of 1784, they were given their salaries from the Indian revenues. ठीक है, then it's another form of exploitation of Indian treasury. ठीक है. Charter Act of 1813. So we'll see the features. So this is the act which abolished the trade monopoly of the company in India, that is the Indian trade was thrown open to all British merchants. However, it continued the monopoly of the company over trade in tea and trade with China. So the monopoly of the East India Company have ended, and now onwards the other British merchants were allowed to do trading in India. Okay, so before that only East India Company was allowed, and now after that this Charter Act of 1813 it allowed the other British merchants also to do trading in India. So the monopoly of East India Company abolished in terms of trading in India. Now the monopoly of East India Company continued over the trade in the tea and the trade with the China. So in these two sections East India Company continued its monopoly. Okay. The second important point is it asserted the sovereignty of the British Crown over the company's territories in India. Okay. So this Charter Act of 1813 further asserted their sovereignty, that is the sovereignty of the British Crown over the East India Company's territories in India. Then the next point is it allowed the Christian missionaries to come to India for the purpose of enlightening the people. Before that they were not allowed, but after this act they were allowed to come to India and enlighten them for the for their religion. Then the next important point is it provided for the spread of Western education among the inhabitants of the British territories in India. Okay, now they are welcome, they are they have asked that you can spread the Western education among the inhabitants of the British territories in India. Before that it was not, there was no such provision, but with the coming of the Charter Act of 1813, the propagation of Western education was taken place. Okay. Next we talk about that it authorized the local governments in India to impose taxes on persons. They could also punish the persons for not paying taxes. Okay. So for the very first time the local government got the power, got authority to impose taxes, and they will also get the power to punish those persons who are not paying their taxes. Right. Now the next charter is Charter Act of 1833. So from Charter Act of 1833 and the further this Charter Act of 1853 will be covering in another video. So with that we'll complete this, that is all the rules, all the acts which came under the company rule, that is between 1773 and 1858. So till now we have completed Regulating Act 1773. Okay, we have completed Regulating Act 1773, Amending Act 1781, Pitt's India Act 1784, Act of 1786. Okay, फिर Charter Act 1793 is completed, Charter Act 1833 is completed. Now we are left with 1833 and 1853. So in the next video we will be covering these two acts. Okay, with this we will be completing company rule. Now with another video we will be coming up with all these acts. Okay, 1 or 2 video we will be making for these 7 sections. Okay, so thank you everyone.